Beyond whether or not we have a variable that's quantitative or categorical, another important aspect of a variable is whether we would consider it an explanatory or response variable. Explanatory variables are going to be the ones that help us explain or predict the value of another variable, with the response variable being the one that would be affected then by the explanatory variable. So here is a quick example. The question is, does eating yogurt cause people to lose weight? We're trying to see if eating yogurt affects weight loss. And so eating yogurt would be the explanatory variable. That might be yes, no, do you eat yogurt, or the amount of yogurt. So we're not looking here if it's quantitative or categorical. The response then would be weight loss. Yes, no to losing weight, or like how the amount of weight that's lost. So the relationship is the yogurt eating affects the weight loss. Does meditation help to reduce stress? Here we'd be looking at if meditation is affecting stress. So the explanatory variable is meditation, and the response would be stress. And then, is hyperactivity in children affected by sugar consumption? Here, sugar consumption would be affecting the hyperactivity. So the explanatory variable is sugar, and the response variable would be then the hyperactivity. Then I go through the data set in class, and we do some of that, like what are research questions that we might investigate, what would be explanatory variable, what would be response variable. So if we go back to that class data we looked at, we'll just throw out a couple here. Maybe we're interested in seeing if the amount of money, food monies that students spend eating out is determined by how many credits they have. So we're trying to see if credits affects the money they spend eating out. So credits would be our explanatory variable, and then the amount of money they spend eating out would be our response variable. And there's tons of questions like that you can come up with from this data set here. Then to wrap that all up in section 1.1, we have another quick small data set to look at. So in this data set, we have some information on Hollywood movies. And so what are the cases in this data set? We have 6 of them here. There are 6 films. It's actually part of a larger data set, so just 6 in this small data set. What are the variables, and are they categorical or quantitative? Lead studio, that is a category. Rating is a quantitative or numeric variable. Genre is coded as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but we're told on the problem setup that those are actually some categories. So even though it looks numeric, that is a categorical variable. Budget and opening amount of money are both quantitative. Then we just have students shout out some guesses or options for what we might ask as questions about the data set that deal with a single variable. So here are a few. What's your average budget of these films? What's the average opening amount? How many of them, or what percentage of them or proportion of them are dramas? And then also we could look at relationships between variables. And so I've made 3 here, 2 quantitative, 2 categorical, and a categorical with a quantitative. So here are a few options. Do action films have higher budgets than comedies? Does a higher budget correspond to a higher opening? And do the studies differ in the genres of films they produce? The studio, sorry. So we have different questions we could answer based off of just this small data set there. And so that wraps up section 1.1.